Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you're faring well at your different angles. You're welcome to Career Chat with Nangla. Um, if you're joining us for the very first time, Career Chat with Nangla just seeks to bridge career-related gaps by bringing people together with experts on different thematic areas regarding career growth. And we are super excited to have you joining our fourth session. So for today, we're going to have a very brief agenda, but also a very engaging session. So our agenda for today, basically, we will be discussing the background and objective. We will be discussing our topic for today, which is centered around becoming a United Nations volunteer, the myths around that, and some career growth opportunities that come with being a United Nations volunteer. So, right after that, we will be introducing to you our guests, and then we will get directly into our session, and the outline looks as follows. We will have a clear presentation that shares with you the background of the UNV program holistically. We will have a panel discussion with our guests. We will be sharing with you um, who will be sharing with you their experiences um, in a very engaging manner and interactive manner as well. We had also put out a link out there to collect questions from the public, and we got some questions. And right after this panel discussion we will be responding to those questions that were submitted on the link. Basically, we have 5 so far. And right after that, we will dive into questions and answers that would allow us all to ask our questions, provided it isn't been addressed yet. So we're going to move straight. So, like I mentioned, Career Chat with Nangla just has as a basic objective to bring us in contact with experts who literally can guide us through different career topics. This is the fourth ever since we started, and we look forward to having more of those sessions. And that being said, we're going to move straight to our following our agenda for today. So the next we have on our agenda will be to introduce our guest, and I would put up their profiles as well as read it out to you. So Doris, if you may help in admitting guests who would be in the waiting room, since I might not have a good sight of them. Thank you so much.
It's weird, but nothing is popping on my screen. I cannot
Perfect, no worries.
Yeah.
If you can make either me or Doris co-host so that that's the only way we'll be able to see that part of it, to admit people who are in the waiting room, so we can support you with that.
Doris actually is. She's granted access. I guess she's not seeing because I've been admitting those who have come in. So, yeah. Going to progress with introduction of our guests. So I'm going to start off with the first. So the first we have here is Amarachi Abianuru, who is a training officer and learning specialist with the WHO African region, where she leads the design, delivery, and coordination of learning systems with health emergency preparedness and response. Her work bridges community engagement, health system strengthening, and the development of resilient public health workforce. So that's it for our first. Let me go ahead and share with us the second. So our second guest for today is Beryl. And Beryl Nwatancho is a passionate program management specialist with over a decade of experience leading humanitarian development and emergency response initiatives across Africa. Her career includes driving multi-country public/environmental health programs focusing on strategic planning, implementation, monitoring, and building strong partnerships. She is deeply passionate about advancing health equity, strengthening health systems, and fostering community resilience. Known for her commitment to empowering communities, she brings a wealth of practical insight and inspiration to guide aspiring professionals on their own impactful journeys. So, moving on to our next. Moving on to our next guest, we will be introducing to you Marriane Tabi, who is a seasoned communication expert who transforms complex public health issues into clear, actionable messages and compelling stories. With a background in journalism, international relations, and public policy, she has led campaigns on non-communicable disease prevention, health equity, and social determinants of health across Africa. Her storytelling emphasizes context, cultural relevance, empathy, and audience engagement. She has served as a journalist, Women Deliver Young Leader, and UN Volunteer Africa Women's Health Champion, amplifying local voices and fostering inclusive dialogue. Marriane uses communication as a for transformative, inspiring policymakers, communities, and individuals to take action for a healthier world. Here we have Yawa Doris Guinhouya, who holds a master's degree in communication and public relations. Doris honed her experience in project management, communications, and training administration in national institutions and international in West and Central Africa. She is also a career coach and an author who is passionate about knowledge sharing and women's empowerment. So once again, thank you very much, colleagues, for accepting to join us today and for accepting to share with us your wealth of experience throughout your UNV career or journey from different contexts. So maybe we just want to let you say hi before we progress to our next agenda item. Over to you, Beryl.
Hi everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Marita, once more for the invite. And as she mentioned, my name is Beryl Nwatancho. Jeba is my maiden name. But I'm glad to be here and I'm looking forward to the session and to interacting with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Amy.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amarachi. Marita fondly calls me Amy. Nice to have you in the room, and I'm looking forward to a productive conversation today. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Amy. Thank you very much, Beryl. Before I move over to Doris, who will be taking our very first session, just to indicate that one of our guests, Marriane, has been on transit, but she'll be joining us really soon. So get ready to have us introduce our board in just a few minutes from now. So right away, we're going to start off with our first agenda item or the first module on our discussion list for today. And this is where I invite our colleague Doris to please introduce herself and then proceed to sharing with us that will cover the background of the United Nations Volunteer Program. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Marita. Hello, everyone. I am Yawa Doris Guinhouya. I am Togolese, currently serving as UNV in the regional office of WHO in Brazzaville. I am a knowledge management, learning, and communication officer. And the reason why I'm the one presenting the UNV program is because part of my work is to work with the UNV regional office to promote a special initiative they called Women Health Champions, African Women Health Champions. A project on which most of the women UNV serving now in WHO was recruited. So I want to specify that I am not talking on behalf of UNV today. We are just UNVs that gathers informations and want to share with you. So we are not representing UNV or WHO today. So I'm going ahead by sharing the presentation. It will be very brief, but at the end you can ask questions. Sharing, okay. Marita has sent a request to share my screen. So I don't know what the settings are. Okay, I think it's good. Can you see my screen, please?
Sure.
Okay. It's in presentation mode?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a quick overview of the UN volunteer program. So you all know the slogan, the motto of the UN volunteer, which is inspiration in action. And here we have one of our colleagues on the field. So I will start with this short statement from Ellen Dyer, who says, volunteerism is the voice of those people put into action. These actions shape and mold the present into a future of which, we can all be proud. I'm sorry, there is part of my screen that is not showing, so I'm gonna do this. Okay, great. The UNV program was established on December 1970 during a General Assembly meeting led by the Secretary General U Tant. The program officially commenced on the 1st of January 1971, and the main goal was to promote voluntary service, particularly in developing countries. The UNVs contributes to peace and development through volunteerism worldwide. The program works with partners to integrate qualified, highly motivated, and well-supported UN volunteers into development programming and promote the value and global recognition of volunteerism. This part is very important for me because it highlights the fact that UNVs or volunteers are not interns. There can be, I will talk about that later. There is a part of volunteerism that you can just go out of school and start it, but you have to be highly qualified and motivated. So UNV is administered by the UNDP program, and it reports to the UNDP, UNFPA, and UNOPS executive boards. For now, UNV program has opened volunteer opportunities and mobilized volunteers in 150 countries. The program has 6 regional offices in Amman, covering the Arab states, Bangkok, covering Asia and the Pacific, Dakar, covering West and Central Africa, Istanbul, covering Europe and the Commonwealth and of independent states, Nairobi, covering the East and Southern Africa, and Panama City, covering Latin America and the Caribbean. It's a worldwide initiative. The regional offices are the first entry points for partners wishing to engage with UNV. They offer UN volunteer services and solutions to government partners, UN entities, civil society, and the private sector, and takes the lead in scoping and delivering UNV advisory services on volunteer infrastructure. They also provides oversight and strategic guidance to UNV field units in the region. So at the country level, you have a UNV field unit that interacts with the UN entities or other partners that are in every country. They integrate volunteerism into the implementation and delivery of their mandates. As part of this process, UNV works with UN entities to identify opportunities where volunteers add specific and unique value to development programs and peacekeeping missions. So now we are going to the heart of the subjects. So what are the requirements to become a UN volunteer? We have different types of UN volunteer assignments, and for each of them, the requirements are different. The description of assignments, usually called DOA, give more details about each of them. But generally, we can have, those are general requirements. You have to be aged between 18 and 80. You have to possess a relevant professional and academic experience. You have to be proficient in the relevant languages. And for national UNV assignments, which represent around 70% of all assignments, you must be a national or legal resident of the country. So those are the general requirements. And here I will talk about the type of assignments that you can have. We have 3 types of assignment as UN volunteer. You have the national volunteers, who can only be nationals from the country requesting those volunteers, and it's usually on-site assignments. You have the international volunteers. As the name is saying, it is international, usually on-site also. And you have the specific part of the online volunteers, which requires to be above 18 years old. The assignment is usually 12 weeks maximum, and you have to work 20 hours per week. So those are the types of assignment that we have as volunteer. Now, I will talk about the categories of UNVs. There are 4 categories of UN volunteers. The first category is the youth. To be a youth volunteer, you have is required at least 1 month experience, and the duration of your assignment is 3 to 48 months. So 1 month of experience can be like you just got out of the university. And if you found like a DOA or a request of youth volunteer, you can apply. The second category is the specialist. Specialists must hold at least 3 years of experience, and the duration of the assignment is also 48 months, 4 years. And the third one is the experts. Expert starts at 7 years of experience with a master degree, and the duration is also 3 to 48 months. And the fourth category is the community volunteers, which is a category reserved for nationals only. And for that one, you have just to hold the basic education maximum. It will be stated in the DOA. And the duration is also from 3 months to 48 months. Now, as a UN volunteer, what are the allowances that you got? You bring motivation and commitment while serving as a volunteer with the UN nations. And UNV has your well-being and expenses covered. You will receive several types of benefits and allowance. However, these are not salary or rewards. We do not perceive salaries. They are not also compensation. They are just enough for you to live safely and comfortably with from your first day to the last day on your assignment. So once you are recruited as a UNV, you will receive the condition of service. This is a document in which you can find all the entitlements. It is explain what you are entitled to, you, your family, and your dependents. And it's also tell you about the category of the duty station where you will be volunteering. The volunteer living allowance, the VLA, is calculated based on the monthly living allowance, which depends on your category and type of contract, and the post adjustment for your duty station. If you have dependents, a family allowance will be added to that amount. I'm saying it again, volunteers don't have salary, they have allowances. And each allowance depends on the category of your contract, the type of your contract, and your duty station. This is why usually when people ask you what is the salary or the allowance of a UNV, there is no specific amount. Those details have to be put into consideration to calculate it. And once you got your contract, you will know how much you can earn. So what are the benefits of being a UN volunteer? So those are just, it's not all the benefits, but we can just list those ones, general ones. You have a monthly volunteer living allowance, which is quite good, depends on your living status. A medical insurance, including your dependents also. Annual leaves, which is 2.5 days per month of service. You have also learning opportunities, many learning opportunities with the UN volunteer program and with the organization in which you are serving. You have regional accommodation for persons with disabilities. It's only for persons with disabilities. And it also depends in the organization you are serving. Some organization may be like they may put something in place for your accommodation, but it's not granted. And also you have travel allowance for international UN volunteers. So this is the end of my presentation. Those are useful links. All the information I gather in this presentation, you can find it in those links. And before ending, I will just quickly show you on the UNV portal where you can create an account to become a UN volunteer, because I know maybe this question will be coming next. So let me do it just right now as I have the floor. So this is the official site of UNV. And when you log in, you go to UVP login. You can choose also your language. You have here where you can choose English, Espanol, or French. So UVP
Doris,
login, yes.
we cannot see the screen you're presenting on. We are still on the last slide.
Oh, this is weird. Okay, let me close this.
Doris, you have to stop sharing and then share your window.
Okay. Okay. Is it visible now? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Doris, I think I can see your screen.
Okay, so I was saying this is the official website of UNV. You can find many information here, but I'm just going to quickly show you where you can log in and create an account. Normally you have this tab here, UVP login. You can choose your language, English, Espanol, and French. So when you click on login, because I have my account already open, so I have to decon. I'm going to sign out so you can see how it shows when you're new. So this is how it shows when you are on the app. This is the app of UNV. So you log in or sign up. When you click on that one, because you are new, you have to click on sign up now. If you already have an account, you just log in with your credentials. But you can create an account here by signing up. You provide an email, they will send you a verification code. I cannot do that because I already have an account, but basically the first step is to get a password. You choose your gender, you choose your name, you give your date of birth, you accept the terms of condition, and then you create your account. So once you create your account, you will have informations that you need to file in order to have your profile completed. So I will stop sharing my screen now. Thank you for your attention. Marita, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Doris. Thank you very much for that detailed presentation. Colleagues, thank you very much for the questions. We see your questions coming in. We just want to indicate that your questions are going to be responded to as soon as we open the questions and answer session for today. So thank you very much, Amy, for the responses you're providing, but we are happy to maybe take them over again once we open up the chat so that we can deeply speak to the questions which you're asking. I think Amy might just respond to a few which she can respond to in the interest of time. So once again, we would like to introduce to you our to welcome, maybe not introduce, but welcome again one of our panelists, Marriane Tabi, who was already introduced. Like I told you, she was in transit and she's here now. Marriane, would you like to say hello to our participants, please?
Hi, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Maybe my volume.
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you anyway.
Oh, you can't see me.
No,
My
actually, we
video is
can
off.
see her. We can see
I
her.
can see you now. I guess I should pin you.
Oh, all right. Thank
Yeah.
you. Really sorry I'm late. I was on a flight, so I the fastest I could get to be here because this is very important. I got myself here, so it's a pleasure to talk with friends, to share what we do know, to be able to move all of our lives forward. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Marian. I mean, it's really not easy. This is how much sacrifices how much sacrifice we put ahead to bring the sessions to you live. Thank you so much. And I hope Lusaka is welcoming you well. So thank you, Marian. So this is going to take us over, and thank you, just came in right on time. And this is me introducing us now to our roundtable discussion. which will allow our guests to share with us their experiences throughout their journey as UNVs. But again, the chat is open, so please feel comfortable dropping in your questions, and we're more than happy to respond to your questions as soon as we open up the Q&A session. So, I mean, Marriane, I feel a little bad about being about to hit you with the very first question. Perhaps this might be a very hard way welcoming you in, but I guess since the participants haven't heard your voice, this might be an opportunity to hear from you. So, at least knowing you personally, but also going through your profile on LinkedIn, on X, which previously was Twitter, and following you consistently on WhatsApp, I see there's a lot of work that you got to do as a UNV, both at national and at international level. And I know you've grown through that process as well. So, my very first question for you will be for you to share with us what was your motivation becoming a UA? What I mean, I see you scaled through the process from national, you didn't end at national, you still got interested in moving right up to the international level, and you've grown past that, right? So, what really is it that really motivated you to get into the UNV program generally over?
Thank you so much. Very good question. What motivated me to become a United Nations volunteer? Firstly, I want to just say that I was not motivated to be a United Nations volunteer. My motivation stemmed from the fact that I've always wanted to work in the United Nations system. I've always wanted to support developmental organizations in terms of communication and visibility, even my trajectory in terms of what I studied in school, the things that I pursue was just moving towards that light. Even while as a journalist when doing journalism, most of the articles I was writing was about developmental institutions, the UN organizations, because I wanted to move towards that light. So the reason is after so many applications, I will see opportunities in the United Nations system. I will apply. My dad and I often make this joke that I have, like, what they call the Ghana must go bags. We have these bags of application that I will give into this. I will just put applications in various, there are so many of the UN organizations. You can imagine the number of applications we did. But so far, I wasn't getting the opportunity. Then I saw from a friend who told me about why not just getting through maybe an internship, or there is what they call the United Nations volunteer. As a volunteer, just start from there. When you are there, you can see what people are doing differently. So why not apply to intern or to become like a volunteer for one of the organizations? So that's what I did. I created my profile on UVP, which Doris has just shared with you all. After creating my profile, I had to build in most of this work that I have done over the years, like in terms of communication in that profile. So that's what led me to become, I was selected as a national volunteer, which once I was in the system, I saw how it worked. I embraced the spirit of volunteerism. It's so much fulfilling because I often say that I wouldn't have, gotten to meet like the people that are working already in the system if I was not taking like I was pushed through my trajectory. Like I wasn't going in there like a volunteer, but I found myself got there as a volunteer, but actually I got my end goal of in the UN system, even though under a different category. So the motivation was not at the beginning, it wasn't really volunteerism, but the ability and the passion to get into the system, and volunteer was maybe like a route that I use to get there. So with that said, I will hand it over to you, Nangs, if you have any further question. Thank you. You are muted.
Thank you. Sorry, this is Dick. So again, I just want to say thank you very much, Marianne, for sharing your experience. I guess there is someone out there that's listening right away and understanding that um, this is a way forward, but again there needs to be that work you need to do. You need to explore the system, you need to explore the UNV portal, you need to put in the needed work, even if it means applying and going through the process as many times as possible. But this is why we are here, to support you throughout the entire process so you don't do the same mistakes we did, right? So maybe you don't get to apply as many times as we some of us did. So I'll wave again the question over to Amy. Amarachi is Nigerian, and she moved over to Nairobi where she currently serves. And from her profile, you would have known that she supports emergency preparedness and response across Africa. And it may be intriguing to know what will move her all the way from Nigeria right over to East Africa to be able to render services to the African continent as a whole. So, Amy, what is it that literally motivated you to engage in the UNV program after serving your country? Over.
Marita paints a very large picture, but and just to go straight into it, ideally everybody applies for a role because they need a job or, like a source of income. And the same is true for me too. However, my motivation is way larger than just source of living or a source of income. I had done a mapping of my career a few years before, um, shortly when I was completing or while I was completing my last degree, and I had a clearer understanding of the landscape that I was getting into, which is the global health landscape, and I had mapped some institutions that you know, that would better place me to contribute to global health the way that I wanted to, and some of them were within the UN system. And one of the pathways for getting into the UN system at the time when I was doing my research um, was the UNV program. So I shook a few trees directly with the institutions and also with the UNV program, and then something fell out. So I think that my own motivation is a little bit it's a little bit more ideal and practical. Yeah, over to you, Nangs.
Thank you so much, Amy. I mean, but again, what I pick from your experience and your motivation is the fact that you must be very intentional. More importantly, you need to do that career mapping and know what's needed of you, and that's going to inform quite exactly what steps you're supposed to take, right? Because nobody jumps into it accidentally. So, I mean, thank you very much, Amy and Marian, for your responses to this question of mine. So, I mean, I'm getting curious now to know. I remember Amy just said she did her career mapping. Marian has also shared with us that she prepared herself right ahead of the role. But I know that another question that's of importance to me and maybe other guests listening to us right now would be how do you think how did our previous experience prepare us for the roles that we currently you know are in, or we currently occupy in the United Nations? So I'll turn this to Doris before coming back to Amy. I'll be shooting the question again back at Amy. But again, let's take Doris first. How do you think your previous experience prepared you for your current UNV role? Over.
Thank you, Marita, for the question. As for every recruitment, when they are doing the recruitment process, they will look through your background. Because you have the DOA, you have the description of the assignment, you have the tasks that are there. So even me applying for that position, I have to see if I really match the position, if my experience match with the requirements of that position. So in my previous role, I was responsible to conduct several learning, training, capacity strengthening, and all those that. So I think that was one of the things that made me the preferred candidate for this specific role, because I'm working with the Staff Development and Learning Unit at the regional office. So basically it's organizing learning sessions, finding new opportunities for people to grow, help them shape their career and all those things. So my previous experience was in a national country, but still I was very much in contact with persons. I was dealing with different partners. So I was not really lost when I get here in the regional office. Yes, the scale of the work is different. Now you have to think strategic, and maybe even the environment, even the topics, because I was in human rights and now I am in health policies. But there are, because I was used to shape myself to match every requirement in my previous role. You know, in national fields, there are many things that come us. It's not as structured as it is in the UN system. So I was very much prepared for that and faces every opportunity or every difficulty that was in my current assignment. So that's all I can say about that. Thank you, Marita.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doris. Thank you so much for your response. I mean, there is some work that's supposed to be done for you to accumulate the wealth of experience. It's true that the role doesn't come with a salary like so, but it comes with a VLA, but still, you need to prepare and acquire the experience to be able to get a role and to be good at delivering, right? So excuse me, I would like to turn over again to Amy. How do you think? I know Amy particularly, she served very much in the Nigerian context in public health sector. How do you think this work you did at national level helped propel you into the UNV role you currently occupy over?
I strongly believe that every role or every experience that you have prepares you for the next. And this is true with every job that you hold, not necessarily because we're talking about, the UNV program. Prior to this role, I had occupied, like Marita had said, I had extensive experience in public health, and of course, this helps with your confidence. My earlier experiences gave me confidence. They honed my technical public health skills. You learn how to communicate. I learned how to communicate professionally, engage with stakeholders, all of this which are relevant in my field for my area of expertise. Of course, it is important to note that no one walks into a job already excellent at everything. The real growth happens on the job, in the current role that that you are holding. However, having that foundation from previous roles and previous experiences, for me, made it easier to adapt, to learn quickly, to keep learning, and to make meaningful contributions to global health, as I have always aspired to do. Thank you. Over to you, Nangs.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I like the fact that both guests, Amy and Doris, keep emphasizing on the fact that you may have to build, you will have to build that base, that experience base. And I would say that it will be important. Experience really doesn't mean that you're supposed to work at these big levels. Like the key was a case of Doris who worked with an international or say national organization, or Amy who worked with at the national level of the Ministry of Health. There are a lot of community-based organizations. There are a lot of institutions you can start up with. Even your school as well, depending on your area of work, you can always start off with. So volunteer experience, internships as well counts on building your experience. It's very important for you to invest in that area, right? So now, another thing out there, I mean, before becoming a UNV myself, there were a whole lot of misconceptions I had about the entire UNV program, right? So for this one, I'll be shooting this question to Beryl and Marriane. What do you think are some of those misconceptions which you think maybe even yourself or people out there actually have about the UNV program as a whole? So I will be passing it on to Beryl and then Marian. Are there any misconceptions you think that are out there, and how did you maneuver around this?
Okay, thank you, Marita. I hope you can hear me.
Sure, 5 on 5.
Just confirm. Oh, thank you. So, one of the misconceptions that most people have, I also had the same misconception, was about the fact that the UNV, getting into the UNV program is based on who you know. A lot of the time they think, oh no, it's about maybe you have somebody working in the system and then you can get in, or some connection of some sort. I also had the same belief. But you know, my belief actually changed once my friend got into the program. So I was like, oh, so if she can get into the program, because we were together in the same organization, and I was like, oh, if you can get into the program, then it's not about who you know, because you end up discovering that you actually don't know anyone, and you just apply, and based on your competence and everything, then you are selected. So that pushed me to apply, and as we have it, I joined the program. So that's one of the misconceptions that people have about it. Now, I also understand that, you know, sometimes people are selected, they go through the interviews and they are not called for whatever reason, or maybe they are not given any feedback. Sometimes the process takes longer than normal, and the process is not usually visible. That you don't get to see the process, what is happening in-house. So there's the shortlisting and the vetting that takes place internally, and the whole process, and people get confused, like what's happening? Are they going to reach out to me or not? And sometimes the position is also cancelled. So you may or may not be informed that the position is cancelled, and you just feel like, oh yeah, they definitely found someone in-house and they forgot about me, as always. But we shouldn't necessarily dwell on some of these myths. At the end of the day, if your vision or your goal is to get into the system, like Marriane mentioned, Marriane and Amy, you don't let these myths hold you down, but rather you keep applying and knowing that, okay, I need to build myself, and you have an end point or an end game to the whole thing. So that's one of the myths that I wanted to talk about. Another one too is about volunteering being a learning opportunity. I don't disagree that it's not a learning opportunity, but it's not just that. Because a lot of the time people feel like, oh, when you get into the UNV, all you do is learn. You come with a wealth of experience as a UNV. So you're not just learning, but you're also contributing to the team. You're providing like professional experience to the team. Because every time people have this conception that, oh no, when you come as a UNV, all you do is learn. When I joined, with my experience I had, whenever I introduced myself in meetings, I'll be like, oh yeah, I've come to learn. I've come to support and to learn. My supervisor told me, stop saying that. At some point in time, she was like, stop saying that. You also have a lot to offer to the team. So you shouldn't just think that because you're a UNV, all you came to do is learn. You also came to contribute. You came to join an existing team and provide support. So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. It's not like we refuse the idea that volunteering is not a space for learning, but you also provide a lot. We carry a lot of responsibilities, a lot as a UNV that people may not know. So yes, I just wanted to clarify that as well. So thank you, Marita, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beryl. I mean, I will speak to this just after hearing from Marriane as well. Marriane, I mean, what do you think is out there? What are people saying? What was your experience? What is it that people are saying which you think is not right? What do you think people you used to think initially before you got into the system as a UNV? Over.
Yeah, so I think Beryl spoke a lot into most of the myths that I've heard about the who know who, and also the fact that you're just coming to learn. You are an expert. Doris mentioned the categories of UNV. Some come in as experts, some are specialists, some are university students, but even at that, they bring in that ripe theory from school. So you bring in something on the table. So you are not just, yes, you're taking something, but you are also giving in something. One thing that I would like to add is the fact that even though I know I had indicated during my as a motivation that I wanted to get into the system, but I also want to bring in this myth that um, being a UNV is also not an easy way to get a paid job at the UN. Why I'm saying this is because we shouldn't put it, once UNV has like a certain number of years that you have to serve. After that numbers of years, there are volunteers that go on to not have jobs in the system. So it is okay. And there is no, I want to say there is no guarantee. The UNV doesn't give like a guarantee that after the number of years you serve, we are going to give you a job. No, they don't, it's not written anywhere. So while some volunteers can eventually go on to hired into like staff positions, this is not the primary focus of the program. It is designed to be like a service-oriented, volunteer-based initiative, and even though it is highly competitive and also demanding, I want to insist on demanding, volunteers are selected based on their skills, but people should know that um, not all UN volunteers eventually go on to become, I would say, staff in the United Nations system. Some do 2 years, some do 4 years, and go back, start looking for another role. While some within the first year of getting like the UNV role, they learn good jobs depending on like, I don't know, different mechanisms. I don't want to put like standards where like some might be lucky to, bring in something that the organization see that you are really giving in more, and we want to give you a position that deserves what you're giving. Some because like you find yourself in an environment where it is conducive and your supervisor sees that what you're offering is more than just being serving as a volunteer. So that myth of it's an easy way to get a paid job at the UN, that's the misconception that I wanted to bring on board. Also, the one about salary. So I think in Doris' presentation, she brought in the fact that we are not paid salaries. What they do give you is what they call VLA, Volunteer Living Allowance. And this is like a stipend that guarantees your day-to-day activity that can help you to take care of your family in terms of you have like insurance for like to just, get on the day-by-day activities of your life as well as that of your family. So it is not like a salary or a monthly salary, but it is a volunteer living allowance. So I will stop there, and I'm seeing a lot of questions. I think when we dive into it, I can get into more on that. So thank you, and over.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you so much for shedding a lot of light on that. Thank you so much, Beryl. I mean, you all spoke so directly, and I just want to say that I used to be a victim of that as well. I remember when I received my email inviting me, notifying me that I've been longlisted. I was like, these people want to play games on me again. They already have big people in the system who have their people whom they want. But it is just until I got the role, then I discovered that for real, um, I mean, this isn't about anybody knowing nobody because you literally go through a rigorous interview phase as well. And getting a new role once you get into the system, you're still supposed to write an exam. If at all you're still shortlisted or longlisted for the role, for you to grow internally, you will need to apply, you need to be shortlisted, you need to go through exams, you need to go through interviews. So being a UNV necessarily is not an express way for you to get a role internally. It could in a way act to your advantage because sometimes in some roles you'll see the right, you must have had previous experience working with any UN agency. So that helps, that adds a plus to you, but it doesn't mean that you skip the processes because many of those roles most times are also launched externally. So you have a stiff competition and it's dependent on how good you perform, then can you be shortlisted. Before we moved on, Doris, do you have it looks like you have a brief contribution for this before we move on to the subsequent.
Oh, it was really not contribution, but there are questions that keep coming back in the chat because as me, Bertrand, and Amarachi try to respond. But there was this question about, can I be a UNV if I'm a nurse, if I have medical degree, and I want to say this. In my presentation, I said that UNV has 6 regional offices covering basically the whole world. So there are assignments everywhere. They are looking for different people. I cannot tell you today that if you are a nurse, you can or you cannot. It depends on the assignment. It depends of what the institution that is recruiting needs. So in UNV platform, for example, you can have requests from UNDP, UN Volunteer, UNCDF, human rights, everywhere. There are assignments for everybody. What we encourage you to do is to create a profile so that you can have access to those DOAs. You can use a filter by your degree or the domain in which you want to work and see if you get assignment there. And I also I want to emphasize on the fact that, as I said, national UNVs represent 70% of volunteers that are deployed worldwide. So you can still find something in your country, or you can also find internationally. You have to create a profile first and have access to that platform on which you can find several DOAs. So I really encourage people, this is maybe the first time you're hearing about the program, and your questions are very much valid. But to find if you can find something with volunteerism or not, because we are not the person who are recruiting, we are just talking about the program. So go to that platform, create a profile, and see if you can find something that matches with your profile. So that's what I wanted to say before we move on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doris. I just want to say again, thank you very much for the questions that are coming in the chat. We will take your questions, I guess, right after this conversations we're having with the guests or the panelists. And then I want to say again that we are happy to share with you the presentation so that you can explore the links which you have on the last slide of the presentation. It takes you directly to the UNV portal, and there is also a lot of content that can guide you on creating a profile. And in the next session, this is session 1 of the same of guiding you through the UNV program as well. The next month, which is the month of September, we'll be more than happy to take you through creating a profile for yourself. We would even do a demonstration on how to look for a specific role, maybe with the desire of a participant. And then we will show you what does it take to apply for a role finally, what you should expect at the end after application, and what onboarding looks like. So this is just an intro session. And I see a lot of the questions will be addressed today, but some I think will be addressed in the upper session. So in the interest of time, we would like to move forward and then explore more of the Q&A section of this session. So, Beryl, I'm shooting this again at you. What have been some of the challenges which you've experienced? What are some challenges which you've experienced as a UNV? Are there any challenges? I remember you highlighted quite a few when you were talking about the misconceptions. But again, what are some of the challenges which you think you or other UNVs currently experience or
Okay, thank you, Marita. One of the challenges that I would like to highlight would be adjusting to the UN system and expectations. That is a challenge that, I mean, I think most, if not all UNVs face. Personally, when I joined as a UNV, I felt lost, so lost and intimidated because when you joined we used to call it, my friends used to call it the blue flag. So when you join the blue flag, you feel like they have standards that, like, their standards are so high and you probably can't attain those standards. So you just feel like every single thing you had learned or you knew, it crumbles down to nothing. So my first month as a UNV, I had this opportunity of going to Malawi to support the cholera outbreak at the time in that country. And you'll be surprised that I turned it down because I felt like, what am I going to do there? Probably I just doubted myself. I had a lot of low self-esteem when I joined because of how intimidated I felt, and you're trying to meet up to daily tasks, and someone who is a perfectionist like I am, the more you try to meet up to tasks, the more you make mistakes, and the mistakes felt so extremely heavy on me. So, but over time, I came to realize that this was part of the learning curve. It's a challenge, but you have to give yourself some self-compassion and patience and understand that it's a learning curve. It will take longer than you expect, because I expected to be on the top of my game in like a month or two, given my prior experience. But it took more than 6 months for me to think that, okay, I think I mastered something. So that what I learned, like I said, is it's important to have self-compassion and patience. You need to give yourself some time and space to grow into the system. And then another challenge that probably I will talk about is maybe how UNVs are perceived sometimes. In some meetings, you may be introduced as just a UNV. It can be very annoying. It can be very annoying. And some people may assume that you are an intern, especially those who don't know how the UNV system works in terms of recruitment and all of that. This can be very discouraging, especially when you carry major responsibilities, or even leading parts of the response, in my case, because in my cluster, I'm on the response side. So it sometimes it feels like your title overshadows your actual skills and contributions that you bring to the team. So that is a major challenge that UNVs may face. But the reality, however, is that UNVs are often highly skilled, like I mentioned earlier, with years of experience. But over time, this perception would require you to have confidence, persistence, and consistency. You have to constantly demonstrate your value, the value you bring to the team. And then over time, people begin to see beyond the UNV title, and they actually recognize your expertise. So that is a challenge that you most likely face. And then another one would be being underutilized. Like I said, you come in with a wealth of experience, but then the tasks that you are given, you feel like, I'm not giving in my best. The skills you have, you may feel like you have more to offer, more to contribute, but you are not given that opportunity, or the system doesn't allow you or limits you for whatever reason. This also can be very demotivating, because you know your capabilities and your capacity is greater than what you are being tasked to do. However, I think it's important to note that this challenge also comes with an opportunity, because being underutilized pushes you to think out of the box. You have to be creative. You have to show more value, show your added value to the team, whether by volunteering to take on additional responsibilities, or offering technical support across pillars, or with people within your team, or initiating small projects that obviously definitely should align with the team's goal. These efforts will help to use more of your skills and build trust and credibility. So I think that is also another way to manage that particular challenge, because a lot of the time UNVs may be underutilized, and you feel like you're not reaching your full potential, but it will clear off with time. And I think another one that comes to mind is some level of discrimination as well in the office. Maybe not all UNVs face it, but some will face, like in my case, I faced it as well. Sometimes some challenges, some colleagues rather may treat you in a different way because you're a UNV, or because of your contract type. You may feel excluded from certain discussions or decisions. And in some cases, you may even experience some lack of respect, or you are subtly reminded that you are just a UNV. It's very demoralizing sometimes. But to tackle this, I think just you stay professional, continue delivering on your quality of work, and definitely there are people who are also on your side who see and value your efforts. So roll with those people who see and value your efforts, and stay professional. The discrimination will be painful, but it teaches you how to be resilient. So I think these few challenges, just to say, they are real, they exist, but they also shape you as a person, as a professional, as a leader in the future. They build resilience, they test your humility and adaptability. And with time, you realize that being a UNV is not just about what you gain, but also proving that you can contribute meaningfully, even in the face of doubts coming from yourself, as was my case, and doubts coming from others. You subsequently show them that you are worth more than what they think you are. And yeah, I think that's how you overcome some of these challenges. There may be more. This is not the end of the list, but what I mentioned, I think it cuts across what most UNVs would face. Thank you. Over to you, Marita.
Thank you so much, Beryl. Thank you so much. And I mean, if I were to add to that, I would just say that listeners or participants on this call should realize that being UNV is just a contract type. And it's just a contract type. It doesn't make you less of yourself. It recognizes your effort still. And like Beryl said, when you work on a good team, your efforts are recognized. And most times, sometimes your leads would even tell you, stop introducing yourself in meetings as UNV because UNV is not a title. When you come in as a UNV, there is a title, there is a job description you occupy. I got into the UNV as a training officer. So that was my role label. So my supervisor, for instance, encouraged us all the time to introduce ourselves as a training officer in all meetings we ever went to. So people don't literally need to know whether you're a UNV or not. It's just a contract type that you hold. So I like that Beryl highlighted the fact that you need to know your worth. You need to know that you are actually contributing to the goals and objectives of the institution. You're touching lives. You're changing the narrative. You're an inspiration to other people who literally look up to you. So do not bury yourself down there, or do not sit back down there and think somebody is going to come for your help. If you do not say, here I am, nobody's going to say, where are you, right? So you need to prove yourself in situations where you feel like you're not seen. You need to make yourself seen. You need to make yourself heard. You need to take on roles. You need to show results. You need to prove impact. This is what you were recruited for. So stay professional regardless of what the storm is looking like. But I think I wanted to shoot a question again at Marriane. What will what will it look like for a couple relocating for an international role? What will this separation look like in terms of the challenges that people face? I think this is an area which many times could be a little bit challenging for quite a lot of people. What do you think this looks like? You're muted.
I was just saying with Mike muted that that's a very personal question, but it's okay because it hits home. So ideally, i- as a UNV, once you're going international, there are categories of duty station. So when you're married, people like couples eventually go in for like the family duty station where you can come in with your spouse or you can bring in your kids because in this family as when you're going in for a family duty station, I think there is a I don't want to call it like, but there's a certain allowance that they give to your spouse and your kid, and it shouldn't be more than two or more than three. Doris can correct me if I'm wrong. So it takes a lot of like, talking with your spouse to, determine if this is what you want for you both. And if this is what you want and what it would take for you, because if you decide to go in for family duty, there are family duty stations that might not be favorable for maybe kids education, also might not be favorable, maybe your spouse is working somewhere else. So the difficulties, you have to weigh in what works best for you as a couple for you to move forward. If the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, then maybe you should look for roles. There are national roles. I served as a national volunteer before going in as a UN volunteer. And mind you, going in as a UN volunteer, I had a lot of support from my spouse. There was a time when I think right before I was going in, I was traveling. I said, I look at my baby and I'm like, I'm not going. And I had this like confirmation from my spouse just telling me this is our plan, this is what we are going to get from this is our goal, it's going to meet our goal. So that support system, even you mentally going to a duty station, you need it because you're going into a new country that you don't know. You're going to meet people that you don't know. And mind you, some family duty stations are not really family like family. They will tell you that it's family like family friendly. I don't want to call names of duty stations. And also, I think Beryl can come in on this. You can go in for a family duty station where you have the permission to bring in your family. But then again, you are sending for mission in a non-family duty station. How do you play around that? So it's more about the spirit, your goal as a family, and what works best for you as a couple. Then you can take in on that job. But it depends on situations, and it depends on family per family as we go. So that would be my answer to that.
Thank you very much. I think the last reaction from Beryl, then we move on.
Yeah, thank you, Marita. You know, you mentioned something, Marian. You can go to a family duty station and then it suddenly doesn't, it becomes a non-family duty station. So your family is relocated. They are sent back to their home country. So it gets a little frustrating. You know, you want that support. You need that support from your spouse to be able to pull through on your activities. It's important. I mean, this is not just a UNV challenge, this particular one on splitting or being away from family. It's everyone, staff, UNV, whatever. As long as you're an international personnel, you face this challenge. And it's bad to say, but a lot of the time people end up being divorced because of going international. Yeah. So I think it's not, it doesn't mean that because you want to be an international staff that it should ruin your family. It's good, like Marian said, talk it over with your spouse. Agree to disagree and take a decision together and see how it works for you. It doesn't mean that we should pipe down on your goals. You know, if you want to be an international leader tomorrow, we shouldn't just pipe down on your goals because of that. But you, like Marian said, talk it over with your spouse. If you guys are on the same page about your growth and how it will help the family moving forward, your spouse will support you. Your spouse will move with you. But if you're also trying to push for your own thing, it might be a little challenging. And yeah, so I think I just wanted to weigh in a little on that. It's difficult. It's not just UNV thing, it's everybody, everybody. Even the unmarried ones, it's family at the end of the day. Whether you are away from your siblings or away from your parents, it's family. And it hurts. It hurts. But we just have to find a way to pull along with it. Thank you.
Muted.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. So I just was saying that thank you so much, ladies, for this input and the angle from which I was coming. I was bringing this in because when you're looking out for roles, you should know that as sweet as we paint the picture, there is a downside. There is another side of it. It's not just a single side of it. So as you're meditating thoughts, maybe starting your applications tonight, you should know that this is something you're likely to be faced with. So have this in mind, especially in the lives of many women. Culturally, it is known that men are the breadwinners. So many times when the man is separating and going for the greener pastures, many times the negotiation is not as hard as it will be the case for a mom who has that cultural traditional role to be the nurturer, the carer. And you see, when Marianne said in her case, she wasn't restricted by her spouse, but she said when she looked at her baby at the time, she felt like she wasn't going to do this. It was going to look like a betrayal on her daughter. So it felt like she shouldn't do this. It was a difficult decision for her to make, right? And I feel that because becoming a UNV, I see there is a lot of people in the chat talking about how many times they've applied and how frustrating it is not getting feedback. And then eventually the result gets to you. And then now it's a discussion of if you should go or you shouldn't go, right? So it becomes a little bit tricky for you. So these are some of the things, and I just wanted to say that applying for those roles, it is important for you to look at where you're going to. I remember a friend was shortlisted. She got this offer to Fiji, and she refused. When she thought about it again, she refused that she wasn't going to Fiji. Like Fiji is in the ends of the world. So what am I going to do in Fiji? So you want to really look at these options before you really get into applying. I know there can be a little bit of frustration when we're really, really into job search, but before you apply, go through all the processes, be sure that this is a place you really want to go to. We're still in emergency context. You may easily get something in Gaza, but do you want to work in Gaza? Do you want to be in Gaza? And sometimes they will tell you, no, the duty station is not actually in Gaza per se. You would be at the outskirts of Gaza, or maybe it is not in Sudan per se. You'll be working from Port Sudan or from the. Think about it properly before you get this roles. Else, you may not have the opportunity of catching the last helicopter that takes you out of your duty station. So think about this properly before you get into the application process as well. So that takes us now to the next question. We've said a lot about the downsides, the challenges, the difficulties that are likely to be encountered. But again, I would just like us to move this around with all our guests. What do you think will be a success story of yours from your side that you think you would like to share with participants on the call today? So I think I should start alphabetically. Amy, do you want to start with this?
A a success story. It's very difficult to point one thing or two things. It's been a lot. It's been a whirlwind. Which brings me back to the point that Doris was, sorry, it was Beryl who was saying that I don't know. I think we work in different institutions, and she was trying to make the point that says that you know, you will be saddled with a lot of responsibilities sometimes. Sometimes you will be underutilized. And then in my institution, I think I'm overutilized. It's just a lot. It's just a lot that's happening at the same time. I- Nobody remembers that you're a UNV except it's a shitty person because there's just so much work for everybody to do, and everybody's exhausted all the time. So I think for me that in itself is a success story. I am consistently exhausted, if you'd say that, and that may be a success story for some people. Um, but also just grateful for the opportunity to contribute to public health and global health in the ways that I am doing. And for me, that is the biggest thing. But just in addition to everything that everybody has said, it is a whirlwind of experiences all at the same time. It is important to note that with the UN, you are playing at a different level. It's not necessarily national. It's not actually just international. It's sort of a global setup. And with the UNV program, or the UN just in general, because we talk about the UNV and I see some of the questions in the chat, and it seems like you think that it's something that's abstract from the UN. It's just the HR management platform. You are attached to a UN institution, like you are
Yeah.
working with it, UNDP, UNICEF, with one of those
Mhm.
institutions, and so the mandate is what you are covering, right? The mandate of
Mhm.
that institution is what you're covering, and it kind of has a global setup. So you're just thrown into that, and it can be very strenuous. But that in itself, I think for me, is a success story. Just being able to develop coping mechanisms to deal with all of these different things that are playing at me at the same time. And I think that's where I'd like to end mine. So over to you, Marita.
Thank you very much, Amy. I mean, especially with now when a lot of the UN agencies are underfunded, even if anyone was underutilized, this is a moment where a lot of tasks will come into play because a lot of people are being laid off. But again, one thing I want to say is if you do not make yourself useful, nobody would ever call you for a task. So if you're being called up for tasks, it's because everybody finds that, or people find that you're important, you're reliable, and so they would always look up to you. But if you're the person that shies away from work and gives a million and one excuses, people would help you to give more of those excuses and would never invite you, and you may never get the opportunity to learn further, right? And just to add to what Amy said, like I said before, the UNV is just a contract type you hold. I came in if you've ever applied for the UNV before, you discovered that the UNV program facilitates the long listing. You'll get the email from them, and they will still tell you that we are sending your profile to the host entity and the host entity will decide if you will be shortlisted or not. There is always that email if you've applied for that. And I think I have gotten those feedbacks many times for those whom I mentor. They send those emails to me once they are long listed. So the first phase, the UNV facilitates the long listing, and it is the host entity that does your shortlisting and then your examinations. For instance, I received my long listing email back then from UNV, and my invitation for an interview came from WHO. And even on the UNV portal itself, you'll see there that who the host entity is. There is people who are currently being in Cameroon, for instance, there is a role that was launched or roles that were launched by UNFPA through UNV in the Northwest and Southwest regions. So the UNV supports this recruitment process, but are not your hosts, are not the host entity, are not the people whom you work for. So I think this is a little bit of difference which I think Doris made from the onset of her presentation, and you'll see it again while the presentations are shared with you. You might get those details in it. So I would move over now to Beryl. What will you say is one of your key success story you want to share with participants today?
Well, one of my key success stories, as I look back on being a UNV, is how I've evolved during my service. At the start, like I mentioned, I doubted myself because of how things were at the beginning. I was coming in with a lot of confidence, and then the expectations were it just hit me like like boom. So truly, uh, uh, the way I began, I didn't expect to grow to where within a short period of time. Suddenly I found myself, facilitating discussions with government counterparts, with people from different countries, international partners. As Amarachi mentioned, it's a global system. So this also was also opportunity to contribute to discussions, shaping collective actions, and contribute to decisions that will influence countries directly or indirectly. So, but I was given this opportunity, and I made the best of it. So for me, the real success story here was not only about the technical results, uh, um, but it was also about my personal growth. I went from self-doubt at the start, given how I started, like I mentioned, but with time, I grew in my responsibilities, and I became overwhelmed, like Amarachi said. Everyone at some point you get so overwhelmed. Everything is just shooting at you, because you were also able to prove your worth. And they saw that, okay, this particular personnel, contract type aside, has something to offer. So it proved to me that being a UNV is about showing up, learning, patience, and delivering, and then letting your competence speak louder than anything else. And once you do that, the growth is inevitable at the end of the day. So with the help of course, of a good team, you'll definitely grow. So that's the success story I think I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beryl. Thank you so, so much for sharing this. I mean, what touches me the most in your story is about the desire to serve. And I feel like once you have the desire to serve, you want to be part of a solution, that alone opens doors for you because it gets to shape how you think and your orientation around things. So it shouldn't just be about, I want to get there, I want to get there, but why do you want the why informs your how. And if your how isn't strong enough, your willpower may not be able to carry you to where you're headed. So I will turn it over again to Marriane. I mean, I'm not sure how to put this, but I mean, just go on. You got the mic.
All right. So the question is, success. Are we sharing?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that uh, we've talked about this. Success is defined like on an individual basis, and what I would consider successful as a UN volunteer. I often say that the UN volunteer opportunity, because I've served as national and international. So the UN volunteer opportunity at a national level, it took me to places that my resources could not take me there. You get,
Right.
like, I could
Right.
not afford to go to the hidden parts of East Cameroon or to North Cameroon to see how people live, the plight of people, how I can help them. And to me, just being able to be in that opportunity to be able to serve something larger than me was a success. I just mark it as something successful because it changed something within me. There's something that the world, my dad would always say to me that, Marianne, the world is bigger than your room. But I didn't see that because I've not had the opportunity or nor the resources to be able to go out of the people I know, the environment I know. But with the United Nations volunteer opportunity, we used to travel to like refugee camps to be able to do like food assistance projects, like give food to people. I will go somewhere where sometimes when I go for these supervisory activities, I see women, I see mothers who haven't had food for so many days, and how they crumple on food, and they are somehow there's this lady, I always use her like as a tracker. Like, there was one time I went for this activity and I realized that she wasn't getting like the quantity that was like prescribed to be given to her. And when I went there, I made sure that she had that. And on leaving that village, she actually held me, and she told me that, please always come for this distribution activity, because you came, I know that this food is going to last me more than a month. So for me, that's a success that it's a level of success that I think that it's so. I would want to just encourage, as a UNV, just embrace the volunteering spirit. Remember that you're there to serve, and your actions should be able to reflect like the wider UN spirit of the cause of supporting others through your skills. It might be through your skills, it might be through your empathy, and that will make you distinct and also successful. So I wanted to say that, I want to transition in terms of like national to international. There is something I would
Mhm.
just put it like a myth. The one time I had a colleague while serving as a national. I had a colleague who made this statement and said, "Oh, you can only serve like a national volunteer because to get international, you need to know someone, because international are meant for like some people." You get, so it took me like, so international, to get like an international UN volunteer opportunity, it means you have to know someone or you have to be somewhere. But mind you, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody, but I gave in based of how I served. And also, I want to say that in the spirit of, it doesn't matter if it's UN volunteer, wherever job you are, look for those opportunities that you can shine. There will be a time that people would like, they will call for who can do this, up yourself to do it. Who can help us in maybe developing this, why not ops? There will be times that maybe even the UN volunteer program itself will call for like UNVs to come and do an activity together. You find UN volunteers not going to do that activity. Why not? It's an opportunity for you as yourself. Like, you shouldn't lose yourself in the spirit of, oh, I'm just a UNV. No, you're building as a UNV, you're also building yourself, you're also building your professional career. So those snippets of opportunity that the organization that you serve will give you, take it, grab it, and utilize it, milk it, like, go for it. And also like look how to be able to project yourself, like in terms of distinction. That is what I want to believe I used to be able to, because I used most of these opportunities that I had as a national volunteer to be able to present it in my application in the UVP system, that this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I can bring to you. So the opportunity as an international volunteer came and I went for it. So I will just consider it as a level of success. So over to you,
Mhm.
Nangs.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marianne. So I'll turn it over to Doris. What has this been like for you?
Thank you, and thank you girls also for sharing your experience. I would say that, being a UN volunteer now, it's been 3 years, but the experience I gained, seriously, it's like I've been working for almost 10 years now. Seriously. I would say it's a big success for me. And I'm not just talking about the allowance or the financial gain that I got. I come from a small French-speaking country. And I don't know if people here in the webinar are from French-speaking countries, but when you got the opportunity to speak with English-speaking country people, you will see the difference in our both system. And for me, seriously, the mind in my country and even the environment in which I was working, I wouldn't think that I would get to the UN system one day without knowing someone like we usually know. And I had this opportunity. It's been a loop in my career. Like, I'm working in the regional office of WHO. I was able to talk to 2 regional directors now. I have picture with them in my CV that, like, no, seriously, don't smile. Don't smile. I've been working with directors, ministers, and I know that I'm changing lives. For me, seriously, it's a huge, huge success. And apart from that, also, you have learning opportunities. I'm regional focal point for Ireland in WHO. And sometimes I organize trainings, like I'm not the first target of that training, but because I'm organizing and I'm facilitating, I learn also, and I learn a lot. I got the opportunity, for example, as a UNV to get the UNLPE. I don't know if people know about it. This is a kind of certificate that you got in the UN system that proves that you have the ability to work in another language. I am from a French-speaking country, so I never had the chance to get, I never took special classes for English. It was just the usual program that we have, but I never had a certificate to prove that I have the ability to work in English. So you have that opportunity as a UNV because this certificate, you have to pay for it. But getting in the system, you have that allowance that is there, that you can just pass that examination, get that certificate, and it's for good, like for your whole life. You don't have to prove your ability to work in English again. I got that. There are programs also. In my presentation, I said that I was career coach. Before coming to the UN system, I cannot say that I was a career coach. I didn't know anything about planning career. It's been in that UNV program that I got the opportunity to participate in a special training, a 6-month training, to shape my career, that I knew that, oh, there is something like, there are these things that I can do to be more successful, to know where I'm heading to. And seriously, I gained a lot in that program. So I'm just grateful. And if I can give an advice, is when you are given the opportunity to be somewhere, whether as a UNV or whatever it is, take the chance to learn, even if it is not in your area. For example, I was not data analyst when I came to UN. But as my colleagues said, sometimes you just get pushed into something because you are available, or they see something in you that, okay, you can just try and learn. And I learned. I pushed myself. I took the opportunity to get certificates, to get extra learning apart from what I got before getting into the system. So seriously, for me, even if tomorrow my contract ends, it was a big win for me. This will be on my CV forever. And I know that for now that I have an international experience, it will be maybe much easier for me to get some role. Yes, I will apply and they will deny it. Depends on what they are looking for. But I know that the level that I was before getting in that system, I'm not in the same level anymore. So it is It's a huge opportunity for me. Thank you.
I get you, Doris. I like the fire. I like that from you. And I really hope that the success stories that have been shared by Beryl, Marriane, Amy, Doris, I really hope that this get to inspire you. And I would have loved to ask another question, but I would rather like us to go directly to honor participants who took the time to ask questions on the Google form we sent out some time back, and just see perhaps some of the questions that have not been answered in the chat yet. Like, for example, somebody asked, the first question I have here, maybe I should have shared my screen. Not sure why that's not coming up. Anyway, okay, here. So, can you see? Can anyone see my screen, please?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
yeah.
We can.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Please, what do you see? Is it the Google form or?
Yes,
Yes,
the Google
yes, the
form.
Google form.
Perfect, perfect. So please, I'll just want us, we should have gone just to go quickly through those questions, and to now from there we'll churn in from here, we would move into the chat and look at the questions which have not been answered yet. And if anyone has a question that hasn't been answered or things that they need clarity, following the questions that have been answered in the chat box already, please raise your hand and we will be happy to respond to that. So, the very first question, which was, how do I structure my CV to get a UNV job? I think that I have seen a response from quite a couple of panelists responding to that question. But if you feel like this question hasn't been answered properly, still feel comfortable to raise your hand so that we can respond to this question clearly for you. I think this is answered. How can I start how can I start a UNV program? I guess this is what the person meant. Um, I guess this is what the presentation has also covered very extensively. How can one become a UNV, a UN volunteer and become successful? I guess this has been covered as well. And then we have this question from Togo. Would like to please join your movement Plan Togo or UNICEF? How do we do it, please? So I think a lot of the presentation has been around how to join the UNV program, but also regarding Plan International, I guess there is I would say there is two ways for the best I know. At least I served with Plan International Cameroon for a year, and what I observed here was that there are some times when they have these junior programs to encourage youths. They launch these programs either for internships, and I also think maybe if you approach the institutions, they can let you know if they have openings or not. But I think the best for anybody that's seeking opportunities, if you're planning to serve with any institution, the nice thing about the internet these days is that there is a lot, all of these organizations have their websites, they're on LinkedIn, they are on Facebook, they're on X, which initially was Twitter. They have a lot of these media handles, and this is where they advertise a lot of those opportunities. So I would suggest that yes, sometimes like Plan International, the different countries have a lot of programs going on. So you can always approach them, explore their websites to see what they have available. And then sometimes Plan International could work through third parties. There are some projects that they don't implement all by themselves. So you could also want to see what are some some organizations around that implement their projects, and it may be a good starting point for you. Like, for example, if you're applying and they get to know that you worked within the framework of one of their projects, they would have the understanding that you know what their standards actually are. You've implemented related projects before. If you add one of the persons who worked with them as a reference, they can quickly recognize that person. So why are most positions for the UNV age. Why are many of these positions basically age driven? Amy, are you able to respond to this question?
Absolutely. So from how we understood the question is very simple that this person did not quite understand the system. Maybe you haven't registered yet or you haven't checked out the DOA. The UN when we keep saying the UNV and I look at the chat, I get the impression that people kind of think it's a different entity. So in general, the UN follows international labor laws. And to this, you would not be employed if you're not up to 18 years old and then up to 80 years old. And I think that even in social terms, this is just like easily explained in some countries, the age of the legal age for adulting is 18, and usually by 65 for most institutions, people should be retiring. Now, if people go further, then we're talking about 80 years old. So, I don't think that they're age driven because if you listen to the presentation earlier, where she said 18 to 80 for at least 98% of the job vacancies. Let's not call them DOAs, let's call them job vacancies that you see. It carries 18 to 80 years old. Now, if you are a UN youth volunteer, this is where younger people come into the program. This is when it says 18 to 25, because after 25, then it's expected that you move into a different category, maybe a specialist, maybe an expert, or any other category where you might even transition to an actual job. But the positions are not age driven. Rather, they have age categories, which is 18 to 80, which is understandable. They're more technically driven, if we put it that way. Over to you, Marita.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you. I think this is the last question we have on the link that was submitted through the form, the Google Forms. Now we just want to, Beryl will be sharing a link on the chat. We wish you could few questions. How you respond to those questions will inform also how we improve moving forward. If you see the standard today, it's also because previous people who've been attending the session have been able to also advise us on how best to run the sessions in a way that will be to you in a very, will look very conducive, right? So please, and this is also a platform where that allows us to know what topic to address that speaks to your needs in our subsequent sessions. Like I said, Career Chat with Nangla happens every other month. We have a calendar of activities that have been planned out already, but it would also be very interesting to know that we are not just doing what we want to do, but also what speaks to the need out there, right? So please kindly help in filling out the survey or say the evaluation form, which we've shared with you, so that it helps us to improve our subsequent sessions. So that said, we are now open for questions and answers. So please kindly ask your question, raise your hand or say, also, I'm not sure why I'm not able to see these things anymore. But
It's
please,
sharing your screen. If you stop sharing, you might see the other
oh
things.
dear, yeah, that's right. I missed out on that. Yeah, perfect. So we would be sharing with you the recording of the session after it's uploaded on YouTube for easy access. And then the presentation will shared by Doris, the presentation done by Doris will also be shared at the end of the session. We have a WhatsApp group. I think a lot of us should be on that WhatsApp group. So I'm not sure how to start sharing this presentation individually. And from the onset, I was doing that. But as a number, started increasing, it became also very challenging for me to send to individuals. So we will be sharing this as well. I have had the link to that WhatsApp group on my WhatsApp page for a while. I think I can share again with Beryl for those who may need the presentation to join the group, because this is where we share materials. So as I'm trying to figure out what's happening to my screen, please, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand. I think other colleagues who have access to the chat can see whose hand is raised and they would call. If you want, you can address your question to a specific panelist, but if not, ask your question openly. We would see who's able to respond to your question. So I think this should take us like 15 minutes and then we wrap up. Over. The floor is open for questions and answers.
Marita, in the meantime, if you could share the link to the WhatsApp group, we're getting requests from the chat.
I'm on it. Thank you.
Go on.
And since we're waiting for people to ask us questions, and while you're trying to sort that out, is it okay if we go through some of the questions we already responded to in the chat, and then probably, to buy
Yeah.
the time waiting for you to come back?
I'm good. I just think I'm good. We can go on. You can go ahead to check the questions which perhaps you think are critical, but which may not have been
responded to
properly
already.
responded to. So yeah, please go.
Okay. Somebody asked that as someone with a nursing degree, do I have chances of being chosen as a volunteer? And Bertrand had tried to answer this question. Yes, you do. As I had explained before, the UNV platform is not just it's just the HR management, a human resource management platform. You are eligible to work with the UN institutions. So as a nurse in the health sector, there are so many places you can work. You can work in.
Excuse me, Amarachi. To support your response, can I just share the page on which you can find the DOAs so they can see that there are different institution hiring different position. You can just continue talking. I will just share the screen.
Yeah. For people in public health or in the health sector, you want to look at institutions like UNICEF, like WHO, like IOM, sometimes UNFPA, depending on, UNFPA, not even sometimes UNFPA for sexual and reproductive health. So absolutely, with a nursing degree, you can get an opportunity, you can get chances of being chosen, depending on if health institutions are currently employing at the time that you are applying, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that answered your questions. Are there career opportunities related to managerial studies, especially at the entrance or beginner levels? Managerial studies, Brenda, you might need to explain further what that is. What kind of career you think that you want to hold in that position? Would that be human resources? Would that be administrative management? You need to be clearer so that we can then advise, based on our experience or the things that we've seen. But managerial studies is a little bit vague and we're not able to relate to that. At least I am.
Amy, can you speak to that? Amy, can I speak to that?
Yeah, please.
So one thing I was having this conversation with Beryl, this exact same conversation with Beryl this afternoon, and coincidentally, this is coming up. This is again to say that you might have a particular educational background, but be sure that you will not see a specific, it's likely that you will not see any specific job that says career management role, officer, or this or that. It is very difficult. You would rarely see anything. I studied women and gender studies, for example, in school. I would never see any job description where it is written there, women and gender. There is nothing like that. So this gets back to why you get to study certain specific programs back in school. So you're studying a particular program, but why are you studying that program? How is it supposed to help you? So particular educational backgrounds support you in getting into a specific niche in the job market. So the next thing you're supposed to start looking out for is I have this particular degree, maybe a master's degree. Let me use the example of the nurse, the person who asked the question around nursing. I have an HND, perhaps a degree in nursing. Now, what am I supposed to do? Come back to go out there, check for okay, so this is it. Doris is sharing something around medical officer. If you click on this medical officer, let's scroll down a little bit to see what, and you remember that you may study, let's go down. Yeah, I want us to go down to where we have the education quality, yeah. So you see here, it is said, for example, master's degree in specialized human medicine with clinical experience is mandatory, right? So you may have your nursing, but you want to look for job descriptions here or job offers on the UNV portal that get to match the skills. Okay, like here again, clinical medicine is mandatory. Valid certification in advanced trauma life support, advanced cardiac life support, or pre-hospital trauma life support is highly desirable. Experience in HIV care or VCCT is desirable. Specialized human medicine with clinical experience is mandatory. You see that here it's very, very specific. So it goes beyond saying that I have just a degree in this particular field, but which profession do you want to get into? If you want there are also emergency situations, for instance, where the role of nurses really, really get to stand out. If this is a Cameroonian, I would use the case of the Boko Haram. When Boko Haram started, there were a lot of nurses that were recruited in the north. Now, Médecins Sans Frontières, I remember that in the case of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, a lot of people who worked with Doctors Without Borders, or better still called Les Médecins Sans Frontières, a lot of them were nurses. So if you want to get into emergencies, I think that a lot of nurses have openings in that niche, and this is where you want to also look at. In my conversation with Beryl this afternoon, we were saying that, for instance, some people are mathematicians, but they do not know that there are some statistical roles within this platform or even different organizations. But because you are keen on just looking for statistics, you will not see anything like that. Sometimes people are looking for you're an M&E person. Nowadays, they've moved it from being from M&E to monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. So if you keep looking for M&E, you may never find that. So what does it mean? You see, like for the example, the task which Doris and I have done on the screen now. If you're looking for a role that fits your profile, you need to go all out there to find out how do recruiters call that particular role? How do they refer to it? How does it found on job description? Who is it that needs me? Who is it that needs my services? Where are these people located? So this what makes me tell people in search for jobs that job search is a job on its own. So this is just me wanting to keep it very short so that we can open room for other interactions and other questions.
All right.
Was it from Brenda? Was that question from Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
super.
think about, yeah, you and Amy butchered the
Mm,
response quite well. And
okay.
what I just want to add to this, it's a bit in a different angle, but just to say that from what Nangs and Amy had said, this is not a quick to do kind of UNV. Applying for a UNV role is not a quick to do kind of opportunity. There are times that I send the link to the UVP to colleagues and they want to fill it on their phone. Like, I want to fill my profile. I hold nothing against, I know people have really good gadgets that they can work with on their phone. But I think that these are things that you can take a little bit seriously, and for you to be able to go through the DOA, the description of assignment, look at it detailedly, and then you start to build in your profile, because it takes someone who is serious to be able to target. Recruiters don't have time to be able to set out those key messages that you've seen in the DOA, to fix your profile in that format that you've seen in the DOA. And not only do the system gives room for limited characters and limited space. So you want to think, you want to be creative to put out the kind of motivation that is really short, but also sells to the opportunity that you're applying for. It's very important. And it takes time. It takes you reading through that procedure, what they are looking for and the kind of things they are looking for. Sometimes the first screening of like the UM is not even like people. Maybe it's just like a computer looking at keywords. What have you put in your application? Then it goes to the human face. Then they pick out. So it is very critical that you take the applying part of the UMV very seriously. Like, take your time building your profile, even in the when you like the opportunity that you get to put in. You see in the UVP they will ask like others that you want to list. Like, there's a section I think at the end that they will ask for an option for others. What you're putting in there should be critical. It should not be like just one sentence, like just carefree. Take it seriously. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to add.
I mean, I agree with you on that, Marian, because in fact, Beryl and I had a very detailed conversation around that, and I was telling her the same, that back in the days when I still was applying for UNVs, when I just see a role that works with me, when you create a profile, for those who have created profiles before, you know how easy it is. Once you create a profile on on UVP, and you find a job offer and you click that link, the first thing that flashes on your face is apply. And by the time you click apply, it is gone and you're happy that it didn't take you time. But the shortcut generally doesn't help you for the most part. You need to go back and see what is it that's on the job description that's not on your profile, or how else you need to restructure your profile in a way that reflects what you have on the job description. And mind you, I think one thing which Doris might have mentioned on the background is that once you're a national volunteer, you have a limited number of years during which you can serve, and you cannot exceed that. And once you're an international volunteer, you cannot serve as an international volunteer, whether you're a specialist or you're an expert, you cannot go above 4 years, right? So what this means is you cannot be a UNV forever, even if you've seen that the age limit is up until 80. You cannot be an international UNV for more than 4 years. So what this means is you need to be building your capacity in a very strategic manner that gets to prepare you for further opportunities and take it very, very seriously, like very, very seriously. I see a question in the chat, and I want Bertrand to speak to this question. We've had Bertrand on the platform before, and we worked with Bertrand on the module that spoke to competency-based interviews, preparing for competency-based interviews. And the question says, please, does my experience in the public service count, or do I need to acquire humanitarian experience to be to stand out? I think this is what the person meant to say. So Bertrand, if you're in a position where you can respond to this, please kindly proceed. I guess others might want to learn from this too.
Yes, thank you very much, Marita. Good afternoon, panel members. Good afternoon to all those who are in the chat. I think there are already two responses to this question. You're asking if you are experienced as a civil servant count. The first thing I'll suggest you do is to have a keen look at the description. Does it actually match with your profile? If yes, that's fine. If no, that's still fine. Now, the next thing is the requirements on the description that's put online. Does it match your profile? That's the most essential thing, because I think, for example, 10 years ago, I was a civil servant, right? I was working like an environmentalist in the Southwest region. And later on, I switched to the banking sector. After 5 years in the banking sector, I noticed that there was an opportunity as a UNV finance officer, which I applied. I'd worked barely 1 year at the level of the bank, but what do? They take into consideration your previous experience. Your previous experience as a civil servant will always count, right? So don't feel discouraged that as a civil servant, your experience might not count. It will count. But now the pertinence of your experience, is it related? Is it in line with what the employer wants? If yes, that's good. So over to you, Marita. Thank you.
Thank you for lending your voice. And I think we may have, if there are no other questions, I would invite Amy. Amy, is it an old hand or a new one?
Sorry, it was an old hand when we were talking. I wanted to reiterate what you and I think Marianne had already said. It is important when she mentioned the phone thing. I think it kind of gave me PTSD. People wanting to apply for roles with their phones. It gave me some post-traumatic stress disorder, because I've also sent links to a few people, and not necessarily UNV, but like job opportunities, links, and people say, "Oh, but I tried to do it with my phone and it didn't work." I I feel like the current landscape that we are in, especially with the international development sector, it is a severely competitive process. We cannot overstate this, that it is very competitive. You are in there with global world leaders. Let me give you an example. Recently, with my institution, there was a role that mirrors exactly what I'm currently doing. And I was the person who wrote the TOR for that role, because the hiring manager called me and said, "Oh, can you send me a TOR for this role?" And I did. So when I saw it, I thought, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly this. The qualifications are mine. Everything is mine. And I applied. And I got an email, I think 2 months after, to say, "Oh, we selected somebody for this role." And I'm like, "No, this is a lie. This is terrible." And I walked to the HR's office and I say, "Open my profile, open." And this is not UNV, this is like staff position. I'm like, "Open my profile from your laptop. I want to see on the end." My dear, there were about 3,000 people who applied for the same role. And I'm pretty sure that about 1,500 of them were more qualified than me. There were people who had 20 master's degrees. This is me being sarcastic, and some other things that I've never heard of in my life. Now, listen, when people send you roles, please, you gotta realize that you are competing with thousands of people with more experience, with more qualifications. So when you're putting in, so when I hear things like I try to apply with my phone, it sounds like a bee in my ear. You have to, and which leads me to the very comment where you said, should you tailor every for every job role, should you tailor your CV? I think that it is absolutely right. We are not saying that you have to develop an entirely new personality, but for every role, you need to be able to relate your experiences to the requirement of that role. Because it's useless if I say I'm a public health specialist and a particular role says, "Oh, they need somebody with experience in, let's say, data analyst." And I just go in there and say, "I'm a public health specialist." And I am expecting the hiring manager to know that as part of public health, data monitoring and evaluation is one of the things. I have to relate and say, as a public health specialist, I've done so and so, I've done data, this in this role. So for every role, I need to tailor my experience to suit what they're looking for. We are not saying develop an entirely new personality, please do not do that. We're only saying relate what you have to what they need so that they are able to see that you may be bringing value to the table. That's all from me. Over to you, Marita.
Thank you. There is another hand from Doris.
Yes, it was related to one question that popped up on the chat right now, asking about a specific profile if it suits on UNV. Again, every profile suits for a volunteer assignment. You will find job vacancies for drivers, writer, receptionist, graphic design, monitoring and evaluation, advocacy, everything. Even, for example, my previous job, I was not a knowledge management officer. I was a training officer, and I didn't know that knowledge management exists before. When I received that DOA, I have to go through the assignment and see that, oh, this is me, like this is my qualifications. So when we are looking for a job, it's a serious job. Even asking Google, like even if you go to Google the motor of research and ask position of what you are looking for, you may not find the specific thing that you put, but you will find things related to that. There are many positions worldwide as a volunteer. Now it's up to you. Do you want to serve only in your country, or do you want to go outside of your country? There are specific needs. The UN volunteer partners with UN organizations, ministries, even organizations that I didn't know it exists. On that platform, I found it. Don't be narrow, like don't narrow your vision in your country. If you want to develop your career, this is another part of the thing. If you want to go forward, then you have to look worldwide, and you have to have the strengths and know that you will meet requirements, like even the experience that you got before is not, you can even find a profile or assignment that matches with your profile. But when you see the requirement, you see that, oh, I don't have much experience and I have to gain more experience. Then it is you planning to have that role in the future. Not only about the title of the position, but the requirements of that position. Is you looking for experiences? Is you looking for diploma certification? To be able to match with that position in the future. So look worldwide. UNV, like being a volunteer, you can volunteering in the UNV system, like UNV as an organization. You can volunteer in WHO, OIM, UNDP, UNFPA, worldwide. There are assignments for everybody. Now you have to look for it. You have to search for it and know if you want to travel to get that position. Sometimes it may be temporary position like 3 months, 4 weeks, 6 weeks online, but those are experiences that you are gaining. And there's also something. Don't be discouraged when you go through a process and you are not selected. There are people here who have applied like 30 times before being selected for one
Only
position.
30? More than 30?
And what is good with that system for me is every time I apply for a new position, I learn a new thing about me. You will see something like you can see communication officer, okay? But going through the DOA, there are tasks that I never performed before, or there are things that I did and I never thought about it. But this position gave me the opportunity to now reshape my CV and my experience, saying that, oh, I've done that before, and I will highlight that. So every time you have to match your profile with the requirements of the assignments. So yes, there are positions for everyone. Just look for it. Make sure that your profile is highlighting those experiences that are required for the position. And finger crossed, maybe you'll find something. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Doris. And I think this is bringing us towards the end of today's session. But again, I see that there is a lot of questions in the chat, and we are very excited as well with your participation and engagement. And would like to let you know that September, we are coming for you. We are coming in September to do a practical session with you. It's going to be a simulation session. The same team you see here will be the same team on that September session. We will take you from how to access this UVB profile, pick out a sample job, for example, look at the DOA. We will proceed to applying to that role. For example, we can do a fake profile. Then we will share with you, because exactly the question is, why are we going through, why are we talking a lot about the UVP? This is where you do your applications. From the UVP, the UNV scrutinizes your profile and see if your profile matches the job description that has been sent by the host entity. For CVs that match that profile, they send it over to the host entity. The host entity does a shortlisting, and the shortlisting is done, and then they invite candidates that have been shortlisted either for an interview and an exam, or just an interview, or just a written exam. And from there, you're told whether you've not been selected, if you've been waitlisted, or if you've been selected for the role. And when that is done, there is a next phase that's called onboarding. So in our next session, this is what we will be discussing again with you in more practical terms, so that this would not just be something theoretical. We are calling a lot of the DOAs, we are talking a lot about the UVPs, we are talking about, but what is it about? Why is it important for you to have a good profile that fits the job description, right? So basically, next week, the team from here is going back hands on deck to prepare for you for the next session in September, to see how we can deliver to you, addressing all the questions you've been submitting in the chat. We recognize that we've been here for for 2 hours, 25 minutes discussing the same subject, and I see there are a lot of pertinent questions in the chat. We will do well to see how our next session accommodates this. I just wanted to say something about those who in the public service. The UNV role or roles within the UNV system could be interesting. In the interest of time, I'll just pass over this, but I would have loved Bertrand to speak to this. In Cameroon, I don't know how it applies in other countries, but I think that there is something which is supposed to be, I don't know if it's called secondment or so, that for somebody who works for the government, for you to get into the UN or a non-governmental organization, there needs to be there is a process that you get to follow. And I'm just trying to say that this is something which, if you're working in the public service and you're considering transitioning one day, you need to already start studying what your context accepts, what your context will put forth for you. I know somebody who lost a job with IOM because when it was time for him who used to work for the government, and it looks like it took a very long period of time for the government to approve his transition into IOM. And he lost the job because they took the second candidate and they needed the role filled as soon as possible. So you want to know what are the government requirements if you're somebody working for the government, for you to work with the UN. I don't know if they'll permit you, they'll give you rather a permission of absence, or they'll give you an approval. I've not been in those shoes before, but if you're considering to transition one day, this is something you want to really, really find out and know what works in your context. This is me again reminding us, please kindly fill the evaluation form so that it helps us to shape next session properly, or subsequent sessions. I see this will be the last question we are taking. This will be the close-up question. Then we will do parting shots with the panelists. Is the UN responsible to follow up on visa and all necessary travels for international roles or jobs? Yes, it depends. If you for my case, I'll speak for myself. In my case, they did not do it for me. I did it myself. But that cost is covered. It is covered within an amount that is sent to you prior to your departure. It is called the relocation allowance. So it is your responsibility, but they can facilitate. It depends on the country you're going to. Like, for instance, um, if you're going to, I was going to Kenya at my time and I needed a visa to go to Kenya. So they sent me all the required, a list of all the required documents I needed to get visa for Kenya. And one good thing is the UNV system, those who do your onboarding, those who facilitate your transition, they are available and they respond to you really, really quickly. I don't know if this has changed, but at least for those whom I've spoken to, they are supportive. They may not apply for you, they may not table it in for you and all of those, but they will provide you with the needed guidance. They'll give you the needed authentic links. They will provide you, they will not give you the money before anyway. So your volunteer living allowance will come half so that it allows to compensate for your flight, for your whatever expenditures you need to do, especially medicals. But when you relocate now to your location where you're supposed to be, a good chunk of the money would come back to you. But again, this question will be delved into really deeply in our upper session because it fits into what we'll call the onboarding process. It fits within that context, just like I think Doris has highlighted in the chat. So this would be parting shots right now. And Amy, over to you. What will be your last words to participants today?
I think for me, it will be that you keep going at it and that you keep trying. There was a comment in the chat about somebody who said that they tried and, they didn't get a particular role or they interviewed and they were not taken. And I was saying, you do not be discouraged. You keep trying until you get something. Well, when we were preparing for this call, there was a conversation about people saying that, oh, you need to know somebody to get in. And the point would be as a job seeker, because the UNV platform is hiring, you're looking for a job really. You cannot have that outlook on job seeking. It's too emotionally draining for you to have that outlook. But you keep applying. It's not easy, especially when you're getting the rejections, but you keep putting your best foot forward, and then someday, somehow, something is going to come through, and that would be my last word.
Thank you. So if I get Amy correctly, resilience is important, and be sure that you're not spending your energy applying for roles that do not meet up with your experience. I understand the role of grace. I understand the place of prayers. I understand the position of that one myself. I carry grace and I am a faith-filled person. But again, be sure that you may apply for 100 jobs and if you do not meet that requirement. So this is the reason why we are saying that put in the work and search for jobs that meet your requirement. Now I'll turn it over to Beryl. What will be your parting shots to participants today?
Um, Applying for a job is a job on its own. You should be the CEO of that particular organization or whatever you want to call it. So, and also don't let your beliefs of maybe with regards to UNV, don't let your beliefs hold you down. We are all aware that US aid no longer exists. So you can imagine the number of experts that are in the job market at the moment. So like Amy said, when you want to apply, sit down, drink water, eat, and apply. Don't just be in a haste to apply because there are many candidates out there who probably have better profiles than you. So you need to take your time. So like I said, don't let any of your beliefs drown you and stop you from becoming the leader you want to be. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, I told someone, one of my mentees told me that one Saturday I was going to apply for 10 jobs. And I was shocked. How are you going to? There is people out there applying for over 10 jobs on one Saturday, and you're lying in your house thinking that you want the one that you applied in January for them to respond to it. No, wake up. Even when we get the UNV roles, even when we get whether it's staff roles, whatever, we still apply aggressively. So one is not enough. Keep applying. So I'll turn it over to Marian.
All right, thank you, Nangs. I have three messages. The first one is to insist on the fact that when applying for the UNV opportunity, just like any other role, take it seriously. Search for what they are looking for. Look at the description and take your time to I will use the word like critically put in the keywords that they are looking for. As a communication person, I know that every year we churn out a lot of communicators, journalists. There are people, several. But how do you stand out? So make sure you highlight those key things that the position is looking for when applying for a role. My second message will be while applying for positions, I will also love to just tell friends that, wherever you are, make use of the platform to shine. My colleagues here will tell you that I always tell them that we can sell ourselves on our own without needing someone to come and tell you to sell yourself. You're doing something in your community. Who knows about it? Put it on LinkedIn, put it on Facebook. What are you doing? What do you share on your profile on Facebook? What do you share in your profile on Instagram, on Facebook? Put some of those works out there. It is so important to be able to sell yourself in the little space that you are. And that is how those chonnets, like snippets of visibility that you put about yourself on social media, those are things that recruiters don't need to read your essay to be. They see you are not there to be able to talk about yourself. When you put like a short frame, I am this, and you put in a link of what you are in terms of visible, it comes visible to people who are drawn to what they see. You sell yourself using those links and putting yourself out there in the little space that you are. So start from there. And my last, I think that Nangs is just a vote of thanks to appreciate you and my friends and all participants who join us. This is just knowledge sharing. We haven't gotten where we are going yet, but we just think that the little that we do know in our own capacity, we thought as a group of friends to be able to share with others through this platform. And we hope that we have been able to give out a lot to be able to inspire you to keep it moving as we are keeping it moving. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Marian. Thank you so much. And we'll move over now to Doris.
Thank you. I don't have much to say. I think everything has been said already. Keep applying, look through the DOAs to reshape your experiences, get every opportunity that you can have to learn more about how to apply to jobs, not only in the UN system, because there are a lot of opportunities out there. And also, like take time to see if your experiences matches with where you want to be, and if not, invest in yourself, like take time to get more trainings, more experience, even by volunteering, working with associations. Those are opportunities that you can get to have, more experience, to be the next selected candidate for another job. So I would just say thank you everyone for your attention, and do not hesitate to reach out if you need advices. We will help if we can do it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Marita.
Thank you so much, Doris. And to wrap this up all, Bertrand, I see your hand is up. If you could kindly make it a few seconds.
Okay, thank you, Marita. I just wanted to address the question of civil servants. Just to say that there are several mechanisms for civil servants to join either a bilateral or multilateral organization. One thing people should remember is that the multilateral or bilateral organizations are there to support government implement plans. And to avoid any conflict of interest, there is need for you to follow the right channel. It's either through a secondment, like the case of Cameroon, you should have served a certain number of years as a civil servant to be eligible for secondment. In the absence of that, you can either request for an absence of work that can go up to 2 years. And on the basis of that arrêté signed to release you, an organization, a bilateral organization or a multilateral organization can recruit you. Else, the HR will tell you that no, we can't proceed with your recruitment, else it's going to bring problems. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to close this up by saying that the next session will touch on a lot of stuff. And just to wrap up by saying that follow a lot of you see a lot of people and they say I want to work for the UN, I want to work for the UN. And my big question a lot of times is often, yeah, it's a very beautiful thing, it's a nice thing to work for the UN, but which of the UN agencies do you want to work for? And this is where a lot of people never have answers again from there. They cannot proceed anymore. And I ask, what do you think you'd want to do for any specific institution? There is no response to that. What did you study? I studied international relations. Why did you study that? I want to work for the UN. Why, what do you want to do in the UN? And the answers always end there. What will it take for you to get what you to work with the agent to the institution? It doesn't proceed from there. So many times you need to, I think that it should start by you working on getting yourself a very solid career plan that helps you. And if you crush on one of those organizations, like on the questions that were submitted on the link, someone was asking about, I think, WHO or one of the UN agencies. If you like that particular agency and you think you have the experience, please go ahead and follow all their social media handles so that if there are any updates, you'll be the first person to get that information. You cannot tell me you want to work with the WHO and you're a LinkedIn user and you don't follow them. So do you really want to work with this agency? So you need to be on their case, like back to back, to see what they're doing. And then that takes me to the next thing, build the right professional networks. And why I say build the right professional networks, I'll be honest with you, many times in the job market, not specifically in the UN, statistics shows that over 80% of jobs are not advertised. Over 80% of jobs worldwide are not advertised. So sometimes if you have a good professional network, sometimes these people will run it by you. Hey, my organization is recruiting this. It's not maybe been put yet on the official website, but this is it. Maybe they want a consultant, maybe like that. It may go by word of mouth. But if you do not have a solid professional network, it'll be very difficult for you and you would miss out on that. A good professional network also provides you the needed information. Sometimes they would guide you, they would provide you with guidance on what you can do or what you should do to be able to proceed from there. So I don't know if there is anybody on this call today that doesn't use LinkedIn. If you do not use LinkedIn, I don't know where you're headed, but I am not in partnership or collaboration with LinkedIn, but I'm not, people say that I market LinkedIn a lot. I don't have a family member or I'm not a shareholder with LinkedIn, but guys, if you do not have a LinkedIn profile yet, basically we would handle this next year in one of our sessions. Go ahead and create a LinkedIn profile. And like Marriane said, there are a little bit of things you do that you think that are not important. Make sure you get yourself visibility by updating that profile as many times as you can, because I have had at least 3 offers from LinkedIn. At least 3 offers. And one thing I wanted to say is there are also a lot of jobs that advertise on LinkedIn that can allow you to even work remotely. So if you're not versed with these platforms, where else? There are a lot of UN agencies as well that may advertise roles that are out of the UND platform that meet your recommendations. So you need to do that assignment by looking for the advertisement platforms of those organizations. For example, the WHO has TELIS. UN Women would have its own. UNDP would have its own. So go back and try and find out where do they advertise this job. So you must not get to the UN only through the UNV platform. If you have the required experience, you can find maybe other jobs on those other websites. Then I wanted to say again that for those of you attending the session who are still in school, I would say that prepare for life after school while you're still in school. If I were a parent, I'll not pay for school fees after you're there to go and volunteer. So take advantage of this opportunity, plan, volunteer when it's still needed, so that when you're going out of school, you remember Doris talked about another reach if you leave the university, you can be able to explore. All of those links are actually in the presentation we'll be sharing with you later on. And then pick up new skills. I think my colleagues have mentioned this already. Take up new skills, learn new things. You never know when it would come in handy. So this would be it from my end. And I want to thank you all for taking part in today's session. And we're so much looking forward to seeing you in September so that we can close this up and then to see how we can plan for subsequent sessions. But again, please kindly send in your evaluation for today's session so that it helps us to improve subsequent sessions. And again, to say that these are clearly anonymous. It doesn't need your name. It doesn't need anything personal. So please kindly help us by filling that. We just have 7 submissions only at the moment. So thank you very much for taking part. And we're looking forward to seeing you again in September.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thanks for coming.